Jason Statham secretly walks into his own restaurant, stops cold when he hears a server crying. What he saw next will make you stunned. Before continuing, let us know where are you watching from today. Let's begin the story. Jason Statham pulled the hood of his black sweatshirt lower over his face. The neon red glow of Statham's prime reflected in his sharp, calculating eyes. His name was on that sign. Yet tonight, he wasn't walking in as the owner. He was walking in as a stranger. The cold breeze brushed against his face as he exhaled, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He didn't like what he'd been hearing. Whispers about mistreated staff, missing wages, fear spreading through his own restaurant like a disease. If there was one thing Jason hated, it was injustice. And tonight, he was here to see the truth with his own eyes. He pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. Soft jazz played in the background. The scent of sizzling steak and truffle butter filled the air. Couples laughed over glasses of expensive wine. Everything looked perfect, just like a high-end restaurant should. But Jason's sharp gaze moved past the illusion. A young waiter, barely in his 20s, carried a tray of hot dishes, but his hands shook so much that a wine glass rattled. A woman at a nearby table scoffed as he quickly placed her plate down and rushed away. Near the bar, a young chef wiped her hands on her apron, exhaustion evident in the dark circles under her eyes. She muttered something under her breath, glancing nervously toward the back hallway. Jason sat at an empty table near the kitchen door, his back to the wall. He didn't order anything fancy, just a glass of water. If anyone questioned him, he'd say he was a traveler passing through, looking for a quiet meal. Then, from the hallway near the kitchen, a quiet sob reached his ears. He stiffened. No one else seemed to notice. Customers chatted. Silverware clinked. But Jason's ears were trained for things like this, the sound of someone breaking. He got up. Jason moved toward the hallway, walking slow, silent. The crying grew louder. He turned the corner and found her. A young Latina woman, Sofia Rodriguez, was slumped against the wall. Her long, dark hair hid most of her face, but her body trembled as she fought to control her sobs. Beside her, a young man, Miguel Alvarez, early 20s, muscular but lean, knelt down, whispering urgently. Jason stepped back into the shadows, listening. Sofia, whispering, voice shaking. "I can't do this anymore, Miguel. He won't give me my paycheck. 2 months. My brother's hospital bills. The rent, She choked on her words. Miguel, angry, desperate. "Then we go to someone, Sofia. We tell the police." Sofia, shaking her head violently. "No, he'll fire me. And you know what happens next." Miguel's jaw tightened. Jason could see the frustration in his body language, the way his hands clenched into fists. Jason had seen enough. Jason stepped back into the dining area, sitting down just as a tall, slick-haired man in a black suit strutted into the room. The man's very presence sucked the air out of the restaurant. Mr. Hawthorne. Jason didn't need introductions to know this guy was trouble. He watched as Hawthorne stopped beside a nervous young waiter, Lucas, barely 20. Hawthorne, cold, emotionless. "You spilled wine yesterday. $50 taken from your pay." Lucas's face turned pale. Lucas, whispering, desperate. "But sir, my paycheck is already." Hawthorne leaned in close, his voice a low hiss. "Be grateful I let you work here." Jason's grip tightened around his glass. So, this was how Hawthorne ran Statham's prime behind his back, by stealing wages, intimidating workers. Jason had met men like him before, bullies who thrived on fear, who saw power as a tool to crush the weak. But Hawthorne had made one big mistake. He thought no one was watching. Jason let a few minutes pass, then flagged down a waiter, Miguel. Miguel looked tired, wary, but he forced a polite smile. Jason, calmly. "Bad night?" Miguel hesitated, then let out a bitter chuckle. Every night's bad when you work under Hawthorne, Jason. Why not quit? Miguel's face hardened. He exhaled sharply. Miguel, angry tear in his eye. Because he ruins our names. If we quit, he calls every restaurant, tells them we're lazy, troublemakers. No one hires us. We're trapped. Jason nodded, taking it all in. This wasn't just a bad boss. This was a predator, someone who controlled people's lives with fear. Jason leaned back, voice calm but firm. Not for long, Miguel frowned. What do you mean? Jason just gave a small, knowing smile. Let's just say, I hate bullies. Miguel didn't realize it yet, but his nightmare was about to end. Jason Statham was about to go to war. Jason sat at his table, pretending to sip his water. He didn't need food. He needed information. The restaurant was winding down for the night. Most customers had left except for a few stragglers finishing their drinks. The real action wasn't in the dining room anymore. It was behind the scenes. Jason's sharp eyes scanned the staff as they cleaned up. Miguel cleared tables, his movements stiff with frustration. Sophia stood near the kitchen, gripping a tray like it was the only thing holding her together. Lucas, the young waiter Hawthorne had humiliated, moved with robotic obedience. Then, there was Luis Hernandez, the head chef. A broad-shouldered man in his 40s. His face was lined with years of stress. He wore his white chef's jacket like armor, but his eyes were tired. Jason had done his research before coming in tonight. Luis had been at Statham's prime since the beginning, since Jason himself had opened the place. He was supposed to be running the kitchen, yet something about him screamed defeat. Jason watched as Hawthorne sauntered into the back hallway, his sleek black shoes tapping against the tile. The moment he disappeared, Sophia let out a shaky breath. Miguel clenched his jaw. Jason knew that feeling. The feeling of being hunted, controlled. The weight of fear. Not anymore. He got up and followed Hawthorne. The kitchen hallway was dimly lit, lined with storage closets and the manager's office. Jason stayed in the shadows, moving with silent precision. Ahead, Hawthorne's voice drifted from his office. Hawthorne, low, smug. Don't waste my time, Sophia. You want your paycheck? Then earn it. Jason's hands curled into fists. He stepped forward, just enough to see through the slightly open office door. Sophia stood there, gripping her apron, her shoulders tense. Sophia, quiet but firm. I already earned it. 2 months ago. Hawthorne chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Oh, sweetheart, that's not how this works. You see, loyalty means something. And if you want to stay in my good graces, you'll do as I say. He picked up a stack of papers, paychecks. He waved hers in the air, just out of reach. Sophia's breath hitched. Jason's blood boiled. Hawthorne, mocking. Or, you can leave. But then, who's going to pay for your brother's hospital bills? Sophia's lip trembled. She looked trapped. Jason had seen enough. The first strike, Jason pushed the door open hard. Bang. Hawthorne flinched, his smirk vanishing as he looked up. Jason, calm, cold. She chooses neither. Sophia gasped, turning to face him. Hawthorne's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted over Jason's face. The hood, the sharp gaze. He was trying to place him. Jason let him sweat. Then slowly, he pulled back his hood. Hawthorne's face drained of color. Hawthorne, stammering. Mr. Statham? Sophia's eyes widened in shock. Jason stepped forward, voice low, deadly. Did I just hear you blackmailing my employee? Hawthorne swallowed hard. His confidence cracked, but he scrambled to pull it back together. Hawthorne, laughing nervously. Oh, come on now, Mr. Statham. This is just business talk. Sophia and I were having a little discussion about her performance. Jason didn't blink. Jason, dangerous whisper. You mean how you're stealing wages and threatening workers? Sophia sucked in a breath. Hawthorne froze. Jason pulled a small recorder from his pocket. The red light was blinking. Hawthorne, panic creeping in. "What?" Jason played back the last few seconds. "Or you can leave. But then, who's going to pay for your brother's hospital bills?" Hawthorne's own voice echoed in the room. Sophia's hands flew to her mouth. Jason let the silence hang. Then he spoke, voice sharp as a blade. "Jason, that's going to sound real nice in court." Hawthorne shot up from his chair. "Hawthorne, you can't." Jason stepped forward. "Jason, calm, final. I can, and I will." Hawthorne's mask cracked. He straightened his tie, forcing a smirk. Hawthorne, scoffing. "You think anyone's going to believe some underpaid servers over me? I have connections, Mr. Statham, lawyers, friends in high places. You may own this restaurant, but I run it." Jason tilted his head. "Not anymore." He turned to Sophia. "Go. Miguel's waiting." She hesitated, then nodded and ran. Jason turned back to Hawthorne, his smile cold. "You've been stealing from my people, Hawthorne. You've been ruining lives. But here's the thing. Bullies like you?" Jason leaned in. "They always fall." Hawthorne's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake, Statham." Jason chuckled, stepping back. "No, mate, you did." He walked out, leaving Hawthorne standing there, pale and shaking. Jason wasn't done yet. This was just the beginning. Jason sat on an overturned crate, arms crossed, eyes scanning the faces in front of him. Miguel, Sophia, and Luis stood close together, uncertainty in their eyes. Jason sat on an overturned crate, arms crossed, eyes scanning the faces in front of him. Miguel, Sophia, and Luis stood close together, uncertainty in their eyes. Jasmine Patel, a 30-year-old Indian-American server with a kind face and fierce spirit, leaned against the wall with her arms folded. A few other workers had trickled in, whispering among themselves. The door shut behind them. They were safe, for now. Jason exhaled. "All right. Tell me everything." For a second, no one spoke. Then Miguel, his hands clenched into fists, stepped forward. Miguel, quiet but firm. "Hawthorne's been stealing from all of us. Late paychecks, missing tips. He makes up reasons to fine us, takes money straight from our checks." Sophia nodded, her voice shaking. "I haven't been paid in 2 months." Luis, the head chef, sighed, rubbing his face. "It's not just the wait staff. He skimps on kitchen supplies, cuts corners. I asked for fresh ingredients last week, but he refused. Said the budget was tight. Meanwhile, he drives a Mercedes and wears $5,000 suits." Jason's jaw tightened. "And no one's reported him?" Jasmine scoffed. "Reported him? To who? The district manager? He's Hawthorne's best mate. The police? You think they'll go after a guy like him without proof?" Jason nodded. "Then we get proof." The workers exchanged hesitant glances. Sophia, whispering. "How?" Jason leaned forward, his voice low and certain. "We do it smart. We don't just take him down. We make sure he never does this again." Jason turned to Miguel. "You said he takes money out of paychecks. Do you have pay stubs?" Miguel nodded. "Yeah. The numbers don't add up." "Good. Collect them." He looked at Luis. "Can you get access to the kitchen invoices, orders, receipts? Anything that shows where the money's going?" Luis hesitated, then nodded. "I know where he keeps them." Jason turned to Jasmine. "I need you to talk to the others, quietly. See how many people are willing to come forward." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "And if they're too scared," Jason smirked, "then we show them why they don't have to be." Sophia shifted. "What about Hawthorne?" "He'll notice something's up." Jason's smirk deepened. "That's where I come in." Hawthorne strutted into Statham's Prime the next morning, dressed in a crisp black suit, sunglasses perched on his nose. He carried himself like a man untouchable, his smirk as smug as ever. But the moment he stepped inside, he stopped cold. Jason Statham stood behind the bar, casually polishing a glass. Hawthorne, blinking. "What? What are you doing?" Jason looked up, smiling like he owned the place. "Morning, mate. Just thought I'd spend some quality time with my staff." Hawthorne forced a laugh. "Right. Well, I hope you're enjoying yourself." "Oh, I am." Jason leaned forward, watching, listening, learning. Hawthorne's smirk twitched. Jason clapped him on the shoulder, hard. "By the way, we need to talk about how you're running things." Hawthorne stiffened. "Of course. Let's discuss it in my office." "No need." Jason's voice was pleasant, but his grip on Hawthorne's shoulder was iron. "I like doing things out in the open." For the first time, Hawthorne looked nervous. Jason smiled. "Now, let's get to work." Hawthorne paced inside his office, his usual smugness gone. His fingers drummed against the desk as he stared at the latest set of numbers. Something was wrong. Tips were being tracked. Receipts were being checked. Even his own payroll system had been accessed. Someone was digging. He slammed his fist on the desk. "Who the hell is messing with my business?" A knock on the door. James, his personal assistant, poked his head inside. Tall, lanky, always looking nervous. Sir?" "The kitchen staff. They're asking about missing overtime pay." Hawthorne clenched his jaw. "Tell them to shut up and get back to work." James hesitated. "Well, it's not just them. The servers are asking too, even Luis," Hawthorne snapped. "Luis? The damn chef? I pay him enough." James shifted uncomfortably. "And Jason Statham has been asking questions." The room went dead silent. Hawthorne's eyes darkened. "Statham? What kind of questions?" James swallowed hard. "He's talking to staff, watching everything, and he was looking at the security cameras earlier." Hawthorne's face twisted. "Find out what he knows." Jason sat with Miguel, Luis, and Jasmine. A laptop glowed in front of them, displaying pay stubs, fake charges, and missing wages. Miguel tapped the screen. "See this? He fined Sophia for a uniform violation. $200. But look, she was wearing the uniform in the footage." Luis shook his head. "This man's been robbing us blind." Jasmine pointed to another entry. "And look here, Hawthorne ordered $5,000 worth of seafood. But we never saw it." Jason smirked. "Because it never arrived. Which means he's been stealing money on fake orders." Luis exhaled. "That's fraud. Big-time fraud." Jason's smile was sharp. "Exactly. And now we make sure he pays for it." Hawthorne strutted through the restaurant, masking his paranoia with fake confidence. Then he saw Jason, leaning against the bar, chatting with customers, like he owned the place. Jason lifted a glass, nodded at him. "Hawthorne, enjoying the evening?" Hawthorne forced a grin. "Always. And you?" Jason took a slow sip. "Loving it. Great food, hard-working staff. Just a shame about the management." Hawthorne's fingers twitched. "Excuse me," Jason tilted his head. "Strange, isn't it? Customers happy, workers not happy. Almost like someone's taking from them." Hawthorne's jaw tightened. "Are you accusing me of something?" Jason smiled. "Not at all. Just observing." And with that, he turned away, leaving Hawthorne standing there, fuming. The air inside the small locker room was tense. Workers huddled together, voices hushed but urgent. Sophia's hands were clenched into fists. "I heard James talking to Hawthorne. He knows something is happening." Miguel's jaw tightened. "We have to act fast." Jasmine nodded. "Jason said he had a plan." The door creaked open. Jason stepped inside. "All right, everyone," he said, calm but firm. "Time to bring Hawthorne down." The workers stilled. "We have the records, the missing wages, the fake orders, the payroll fraud. But that's not enough. We need him to admit it. On record." "Luis, folded his arms. How do we do that? Jason's smile was sharp. We make him feel untouchable. Make him brag about it. Hawthorne sat behind his large oak desk, swirling whiskey in a crystal glass. Across from him, James stood stiffly. Jason Statham won't stop, James muttered. Hawthorne smirked. Let him poke around. He's just an actor. What's he gonna do, punch me? James hesitated. But what if he finds out about the shell account? The fake invoices? Hawthorne's smirk widened. Then I'll fix it. Like I always do. A small click came from inside James's pocket. A hidden recorder blinked red. Jason pressed play. Hawthorne's voice filled the room. Let him poke around. He's just an actor. Then I'll fix it. Like I always do. Silence. Sophia's eyes widened. We got him. Miguel let out a low laugh. That cocky bastard just buried himself. Jason folded his arms. Time to end this. The restaurant was packed. Customers dined, unaware of the storm about to hit. Jason stood near the bar, calm and ready. Then Hawthorne entered. He strode in like he owned the place, confidence dripping from his every step. Jason turned, facing him. Hawthorne smirked. Statham. Something wrong? Jason tilted his head. Not at all. Just figured you'd want to explain something. He held up the recorder. Hawthorne's smirk vanished. Then I'll fix it, like I always do. The entire restaurant fell silent. Waiters stopped mid-step. Customers turned. The kitchen doors froze in place. And Hawthorne, panic flashed in his eyes. You set me up. Jason grinned. Nah, mate. You did that yourself. Red and blue lights flashed. Hawthorne sat in the back of a police car, wrists cuffed. Jason watched as Detective Raymond Foster, his old friend, closed the door. Nice work, Statham, Foster said. Jason smirked. Couldn't have done it without my team. Sophia, Miguel, Luis and Jasmine stood beside him, relieved, victorious. Jason turned to them. New rule, they all leaned in. No one steals from my family. Cheers erupted. Justice had been served. Jason stood at the front of the room, arms crossed, watching as his staff breathed in their first real moment of relief. Sophia sat with her head in her hands, tears threatening to spill. But this time, they weren't tears of fear. Miguel nudged her, grinning. We actually did it, Luis exhaled. No more stolen pay. No more threats. Jasmine folded her arms. Yeah, but what happens now? Jason stepped forward. Now, we rebuild. Properly. The staff murmured in agreement. First, Jason continued, everyone gets paid every dollar they're owed. Starting tonight. A cheer rippled through the room, but Jason wasn't done. Second, we're changing the way this place is run. No more toxic management. No more fear. From now on, Statham's Prime is a place where people actually want to work. Luis chuckled. You mean we don't have to live in terror of some power-hungry suit? Jason smirked. Not unless I put on a suit. And let's be honest, I prefer leather jackets. The staff laughed. Hope filled the room. But just as things started to feel safe, the front doors slammed open. A man in a gray business suit strode in, flanked by two serious-looking lawyers. The room fell silent. Jason's smile faded. Who the hell are you? The man adjusted his tie. Richard Vaughn, owner of Vaughn Hospitality Group, and as of this morning, the new owner of Statham's Prime. Jason and Vaughn faced each other across the large wooden desk. The tension in the air was thick. Let me guess, Jason said, voice low. You were the one backing Hawthorne, Vaughn smirked. That idiot? Number. But I did enjoy the profits he sent my way. Jason's fists clenched. You're telling me you knew he was stealing from my workers, and you just let it happen? Vaughn leaned back in his chair, completely unfazed. Let's not pretend you're shocked. The restaurant industry is brutal. Employees get squeezed. The smart ones like me capitalize on it. Jason's jaw tightened. Not in my damn restaurant, Vaughn shrugged. Not your restaurant anymore, Jason froze. Vaughn slid a stack of documents across the desk. You might own the name, the brand. But the land, the building, that belongs to me. Jason's stomach dropped. Vaughn's smirk widened. You really thought getting rid of Hawthorne was the end of this? Jason clenched his jaw. What do you want? Vaughn's eyes gleamed. A deal. You stay out of my way, let me run things my way, and I'll let you keep your name on the door. Jason leaned forward, voice dangerously low. And if I say no, Vaughn's smirk disappeared. Then your workers suffer. Again. Silence. Jason gritted his teeth. This fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Sophia wiped her forehead, exhausted. The restaurant was still running, but something felt different. The victory they had won against Hawthorne, it suddenly seemed hollow. Miguel glanced toward the office door, where Jason and Vaughn had disappeared. Why do I feel like something bad is about to happen? Luis, flipping a steak on the grill, sighed. Because guys like Vaughn don't show up unless they have an ace up their sleeve. Jasmine walked in, looking pale. I just heard something. Vaughn's already making moves. Sophia's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Jasmine hesitated, then whispered, Some of us, we're already getting calls from other restaurants, saying we've been blacklisted. Miguel's eyes widened. Wait, what? Jasmine nodded. Vaughn's making sure no one hires us if we leave. He's pulling the same trick Hawthorne did, just on a bigger scale. Sophia's hands trembled. This was worse than she thought, and it was only going to get worse. Jason slammed his fist onto the desk. You're blacklisting my employees. Vaughn didn't even blink. Of course, if they leave here, they won't find work anywhere else. Unless, of course, Jason's fists clenched. Unless what? Vaughn smirked. Unless you cooperate. Jason breathed heavily, rage simmering beneath the surface. You think you can strong-arm me into letting you run my place like some corrupt sweatshop? Vaughn folded his hands. Not your place, Jason. It's mine now, and I'll run it however I damn well please. Jason stared at him, heart pounding. He had fought so hard for this staff, for Sophia, Miguel, Luis, Jasmine. And now, Vaughn was coming for them again. He had to act, fast. But before he could come up with a plan, the door burst open. A man stepped inside. Jason's eyes narrowed. You! Miguel stood there, eyes downcast, avoiding Jason's gaze. Vaughn smiled. Just in time. Jason felt a sinking feeling in his gut. Miguel, what's going on? Miguel finally looked up, guilt all over his face. I had no choice, Jason. Vaughn placed a contract on the table. Miguel just accepted my offer. He's my new restaurant manager. Silence. Jason sat alone, his hands steepled in front of him. The office light flickered slightly, casting long shadows across the walls. Everything was falling apart. Vaughn had outplayed him. Sophia, Luis, Jasmine, and the others had risked everything to stand against Hawthorne, only to be crushed by Vaughn's larger grip on the industry. And Miguel? Jason clenched his fists. Betrayal stung more than any punch. But he wasn't going to sit here and let Vaughn win. There was always another way. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Then he made the call. Raymond, I need your help. Detective Raymond Foster was an old-school cop, gray at the temples, sharp-eyed, always 3 steps ahead. When his phone buzzed, he didn't even need to check the name. Statham. I was wondering when you'd call. Jason's voice came through the line, low and serious. I need dirt on Vaughn. Real dirt. You got anything? Raymond leaned back in his chair, smirking. I've been waiting to take that bastard down for years, Jason exhaled. Then let's do it. Jason pulled up in his black SUV. Sophia, Luis, and Jasmine were already there, huddled under a dim streetlight. They were scared, but they were also angry. Luis stepped forward. "Tell me we're not just rolling over, boss." Jason shook his head. "We're taking Vaughn down for good." Sophia frowned. "How?" Jason looked at them, dead serious. "By proving Vaughn isn't just a crook. He's a criminal." Jasmine's eyebrows furrowed. "You mean?" Jason nodded. "Raymond's digging up his past. If we can link Vaughn to something illegal, we don't just get him fired. We get him locked up." A heavy silence fell over the group. Then, Luis cracked his knuckles. "I like this plan." The restaurant was quieter than usual. Miguel stood behind the bar, watching Jason like a man who knew he'd made a mistake. Jason walked up to him, calm but deadly. "Vaughn's gonna throw you under the bus the second he doesn't need you anymore." Miguel swallowed hard. "I don't have a choice." Jason shook his head. "You always have a choice, mate. The question is, how much are you willing to lose before you realize it?" Miguel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Jason let it go, for now. He had bigger things to handle. Because tomorrow, he was going to Vaughn's office, and he wasn't leaving without a fight. Vaughn's past is darker than anyone thought. Jason's about to find out just how deep the corruption goes, and someone might not make it out alive. Jason stood in front of Vaughn's towering office building, a deep sense of foreboding in his chest. This wasn't just about a corrupt manager or stolen paychecks anymore. It was about uncovering a monster. The front doors of Vaughn's office swung open with a cold, metallic sound. Jason walked past the reception, his footsteps echoing in the marble hallway. He didn't bother to announce himself. As he reached Vaughn's office, he saw the arrogant, sleek-haired man behind his desk, a smirk plastered across his face. "Statham," Vaughn greeted, his voice dripping with disdain. "What brings the famous actor here today? A business inquiry or just bored?" Jason's jaw clenched. "I'm here to finish this." Vaughn raised an eyebrow. "Finish what? You think you can walk in here and threaten me? I have more power than you'll ever understand." Jason pulled out a manila folder and slammed it on the desk. "I think you're underestimating something, Vaughn." Vaughn glanced down at the folder, then back up at Jason, his smirk not faltering. "Is this supposed to be some sort of scare tactic?" Jason's voice was icy as he spoke. "Those are the financial records that prove you've been stealing from your own workers? Thousands of dollars. Your little empire is built on their blood, sweat, and tears. Time's up." Vaughn's eyes widened for a brief moment, before narrowing in rage. "You think anyone will believe you over me? I own everything here, Statham. You're just an actor." Jason leaned forward, his face just inches from Vaughn's. "Not anymore." Sophia, Luis, Jasmine, and the rest of the staff were gathered together, their faces tense. Jason had promised them that today, the truth would come out. And it was about to. Jason walked into the kitchen, his face stone cold. "We've got what we need. Vaughn's done." Sophia's eyes flickered with hope, but also caution. "How can you be so sure?" Jason pulled out his phone and showed her the security footage of Vaughn's meetings with Richard Vaughn's lawyer, conversations about money laundering and bribery. Luis and Jasmine watched the video, wide-eyed. "This is it. This is everything we need," Luis said, a note of disbelief in his voice. Jason nodded. "Tomorrow, we send it to the police. Vaughn's done. The restaurant stays with us." Vaughn paced back and forth, sweating now, his mind scrambling for a way out. He knew he was cornered. "Statham, you don't know who you're messing with," Vaughn hissed through gritted teeth. Jason stood across from him, his eyes unwavering. "I know exactly who I'm messing with." The door to Vaughn's office opened, and Detective Raymond Foster walked in, his badge shining under the dim light. I think you've overstayed your welcome, Mr. Vaughn. Vaughn froze. His face went pale. You can't do this. I'll ruin you. Raymond stepped closer, showing Vaughn the evidence on his tablet. It's already done. This is over. Vaughn backed up, his mind racing for a way out. But there was none. The police were already waiting outside. The truth was out. Vaughn was escorted out in handcuffs, the entire staff of Statham's Prime watching in stunned silence. The restaurant had been saved. Jason stood in the doorway, watching the scene unfold. His heart beat a little slower now, the weight of the last few days lifting off his shoulders. He turned to the team. We did it. Sophia stepped forward, eyes still wide from everything that had happened. I can't believe it's really over. Jason smiled, handing her a sealed envelope. Your paycheck, and a little something extra. Sophia's hands trembled as she opened it, tears welling up in her eyes. This is everything, thank you. Jason nodded. No one messes with my family. The sun was setting as Jason watched his team stand together, their faces tired but full of pride. Luis, Jasmine, and Sophia stood beside him, united. It felt like a new chapter for them all. Jason looked at them, knowing they'd all been through a lot. But they'd made it. They'd fought back. They'd won. The restaurant was theirs. And no one could ever take that away from them again. The restaurant was only the beginning. But Jason had a feeling that things were far from over. The sun rose over Los Angeles, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and orange. For the first time in weeks, there was a calm in the air. Inside Statham's Prime, the staff moved with a new energy. There were no more whispered fears of missing paychecks, no more cold stares from Hawthorne or Vaughn. Jason walked in, dressed in a casual black shirt and jeans. The entire team turned to him, their faces filled with gratitude and relief. Luis, now officially promoted to head chef, wiped his hands on his apron. You saved this place, boss, Jason smirked. Nah, we saved it. Sophia stood behind the bar, organizing the new menu for the day. For the first time in months, she didn't feel the crushing weight of uncertainty. Jason approached her, handing her a folder. Inside, this is your new contract. No more missing paychecks. No more threats. You're officially one of the best paid staff here. Sophia's hands shook as she opened it, her eyes filled with tears. Jason, this is more than fair. I don't know what to say. Jason leaned against the counter. Say you'll stay. I need good people like you around, Sophia laughed, wiping away a tear. I think you're stuck with me, boss. As the restaurant buzzed with life, Jason noticed a black luxury car pull up outside. A man in a tailored gray suit stepped out, his piercing blue eyes scanning the restaurant. Jason's gut tightened. The man walked in with an air of authority, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. He stopped at the bar, signaling for a drink. Sophia's smile faded as she saw him. Jason walked over. Can I help you? The man turned, flashing a charming yet cold smile. I believe you can, Mr. Statham. My name is Victor Langston. Jason narrowed his eyes. Never heard of you, Victor chuckled. That's surprising, considering I was Richard Vaughn's business partner. A chill ran through the room. Sophia's grip on her tray tightened. Luis and Jasmine froze in the background. Jason's jaw locked. Vaughn's gone. You should be too. Victor leaned in slightly. I don't think you understand, Jason. Vaughn was sloppy. I'm not. And this restaurant? It still belongs to me. Jason's blood boiled. Over my dead body, Victor smirked. That can be arranged. Jason sat at his desk, fists clenched. The manila folder of evidence against Vaughn was still on his desk, but now it felt like it wasn't enough. Luis knocked on the door, stepping inside. You okay, boss? Jason exhaled slowly. Number, this isn't over. Luis frowned. What do you mean? Vaughn's in jail. Jason leaned back. Yeah, but now there's a bigger shark in the water. Luis swallowed hard. What do we do? Jason's eyes hardened. We fight. The battle for Statham's prime isn't over yet. Jason took down Vaughn, but Victor Langston is a whole new enemy. Can Jason protect his restaurant from a bigger threat? Guys, thanks for watching. Let us know if you want second part of this story. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let us know about your thoughts in the comment section. Also, subscribe the channel for daily stories notification.